Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome. My name is Chioma and welcome back to Double Dose of Chi. So if you haven't guessed from the title of this video, today I'm going to be talking about the different types of accommodations you can get if you are looking to study abroad in South Korea. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and also share this video to anyone you might think will actually find this useful. And let's get into it. So for those who may not know, I opted to do a year study abroad in my third year of my history degree at Durham University, and I ended up going to Yonsei University, which is located in Seoul, South Korea. Anyway, when it came to sorting out my accommodation, I had always wished that there was a video out there which kind of listed out and detailed all the various different accommodation types which were available to international students, because at the time I had heard that not every student was going to be allocated a space on campus, and so there was always this fear at the back of my mind that if I didn't get space on campus, where was I going to stay? And I'm sure many of you guys out there who are actually looking to study in South Korea probably have like the same fears that I had. And also a lot of people have been hitting me up on Instagram asking me where did I stay when I was studying abroad in South Korea, and I've come to realize there's still no videos on YouTube that kind of detail or just list out the various different accommodations out there which are available to international students. Therefore, I'll just hop on camera today and basically just let you guys know the tea. So in this video, I'm going to be tackling the 5 main types of accommodations. Those are university dorms, goshwons or hansukjibs, share houses, apartments and officetels, and Airbnbs. I'm going to talk about these different housing options, listing out some of the pros and some of the cons for each of them. Anyway, you might want to grab a coffee because I'm going to be listing out everything you might need to know, so it might be a long video. I'm warning you guys in advance, so grab that coffee and let's get into it. So the first housing option, which is kind of the main one, is the university dorm rooms which are offered by the university itself. Just a disclaimer, I'm only really going to be talking about the pros and cons based on my experience at Yonsei University. Obviously these might not be the same for every university out there in South Korea. I could be wrong, but just note that there might be a few differences. So for Yonsei University, for international students, you had SK Global, which was a mixed dorm room which had single rooms and shared rooms, and then you also had International House, which was a girls only dorm. So the first positive of staying on an on-campus accommodation is the fact that it's on campus. It's in close proximity to basically everything. It's in close proximity to most of your study abroad classes, many amenities at the cafeteria where you can get a vast selection of food such as burgers, salad, Korean street food, Japanese food. There was a nice bakery and a coffee shop. There was like, I think it was an ice cream parlorish type thing. There was also a 24-hour convenience store, which was amazing for those people just stumbling in late at night. I was one of them many a times. So the 24-hour convenience store did help quite a bit when I just needed like a midnight snack. There was also a phone shop, and the people that worked at this phone shop spoke English, and so you can go there, you can buy yourself a SIM, and you can also like top it up every single month. So it was quite easy just to walk down the stairs. It was just very easy because everything was so close together. Another positive is the ease in making friends. As most people moving in are international students who haven't studied in South Korea before, everyone's new to the country and everyone's looking to make friends which they can hang out with and do things with on a daily basis. But Yonsei University held a lot of events for international students, so there were so many opportunities for you to go and just break out of your comfort zone and go and make new friends. Whereas if you were off campus, you would be able to go to those events, but it wouldn't be as easy to get to them just because you're not on campus. You have to travel from wherever you are staying to basically go to these events. Another positive is that bills are all included in the price that you pay for your accommodation. So let me just break that down and explain a bit more what I'm talking about. So when you are offered a place on a campus, you have to pay this lump sum amount which you pay prior to you moving in. Within that lump sum amount, you're basically paying for the amenities. So you're paying for the gas, the water, the electric, all of that. So there's no, oh, I pay rent and then you got to pay like another amount for bills. Everything's included all in one, which is great because you don't have to think about, oh, am I using too much water? Oh, how much money do I have to factor in this month? It's all just included in the price you pay prior to moving in. And also if you lived in iHouse only had shared rooms and it also had shared bathrooms, so there's no showers or toilets in the actual rooms themselves. And so when you pay your lump sum amount, that also pays for the cleaners to come clean the showers and the bathrooms every single day, Monday to Friday. They just took the days off on the weekends and obviously public holidays. And another positive is the price that you pay for university accommodation is significantly cheaper than any price you will pay in comparison to the other housing options which are going to be mentioned in this video. They don't ask you to pay a deposit, it's just you kind of have to pay prior to moving in. That kind of leads me on to the first negative of living on campus accommodation. So your payment has to be paid all at once prior to you moving in. If you not pay that lump sum when you're allocated a room at university, they will take that room away and they will give it to somebody else. because there are so many people waiting on the waiting list that they give you a set time frame to pay this money. If you don't pay this money, the room's gone. They're giving it away to somebody else. There was a time when they did that for me when I didn't want to stay in iHouse in my second semester. Gave me a week to pay, and they basically emailed saying if you don't pay within 24 hours, we're taking this room away from me, which they did. Lucky enough for me, I wasn't going to stay there anyway, but that's what will happen. Also, I need to mention another downside is the actual location of where they've placed the accommodation for international students. Yonsei University is split up into different gates, and iHouse and SK Global's located is on the east gate, which is like a good 20-minute, 30-minute walk from the main gate. You're basically hidden at the back of the university campus. That's where you're located, on top of a mini hill. It was stressed to always walk up that hill every single time I was coming back from Shinchon. It's not as close as they make it seem. Obviously from the main gate to like Shinchon, the main like area next to the university, that's like a 5-minute walk. But if you're staying on campus where the international accommodations are, it's a 20 to 30-minute walk from the actual main Shinchon area. Also, because of the location of where the accommodations are for international students, you kind of feel a bit segregated from the actual Korean students. I can honestly say in my first semester, I barely spoke to any Korean students because there was never really a chance to. My classes were in the study abroad classes, which were next to SK Global International House, which were located in the East Gate, whereas most classes for Korean students were located like in the main section, and so then you never really cross paths with them unless you willingly went out of your way to cross paths with them. Also, another downside with staying on campus is the fact that there are curfews, and I'm not going to say that they enforce them strictly. I know for me and for International House they didn't. That's because the security guard loved me. Not in that sense, he was just a friendly guy. But bear in mind, some Korean dorm rooms do have curfews, and so you have to be quite mindful of that. You don't want to have a situation where you go out for the night, you try and come back in. They put points under your name, which can be tallied up and basically result in you being kicked out of the dorm rooms and not being allowed to reapply for those dorm rooms again. Also, is that boys and girls cannot mix. What I mean by that is that obviously there was a floor for boys and there was a floor for girls. After 10 p.m, the opposite sex was allowed on the opposite sex's floor. So if you were a female, after 10 p.m, you weren't allowed to go on the floor where the males were, and vice versa. Men cannot go on the floor of female rooms after 10 p.m. And you just weren't allowed to go into the opposite sex's room, period. That's just the thing. You weren't allowed to do it. If they caught you doing it, which there are bare cameras so they can be seeing you, you're getting kicked out straight away. And someone did actually get kicked out. So bear in mind that they are watching you. Do not go into someone else's room who is not of the same sex. I know men weren't even allowed in iHouse because it's a girl-only dorm, so there's no reason for them to obviously go into iHouse. This disadvantage is purely for iHouse, is that it is a girls only dorm with shared rooms and shared amenities. So if you don't like sharing with people, iHouse isn't for you. And most Korean dorm rooms require you to share with somebody else. And also we shared bathrooms and toilets. Everyone knows, if you've ever been to a girls' school or if you've ever been to a girl boarding school, girls are dirty. So just imagine 14 to 16 girls sharing bathrooms. And bear in mind, Korea hasn't got good plumbing. You can't flush tissue down the toilet. Obviously, females, Mother Nature graces us once a month. Unfortunately for me, Mother Nature decides to grace me twice a month. So you can just imagine everything that happens in the toilets. And the cleaners don't come Saturday and Sunday. So just, I'm putting it out there, the smells that were coming from that toilet sometimes could blind you. They were so bad. Moving on to goshewons or hanjibs. So these are basically what I like to call them box rooms or shoebox rooms. These rooms are so small. However, there are some benefits to actually staying in rooms like this. This housing option is commonly used by not only international students but also by Korean students. One, because they are insanely cheap. Also, another pro, the location of them tend to be in the most popular areas and also located next to universities. So around Yonsei University, there were so many different goshewons and there were so many different hanjibs just located within Shinchon. You can also just go into Goshi pages and basically just search for the university or just search for an area which you want to live in, and it'll come up with so many different options. If you guys want a detailed video of how to actually use the Goshi pages, let me know and I'm happy to do a separate video on it because it can be quite difficult to maneuver and use. Also, another perk with these places is that they come with free ramen and they come with free rice. So some meals are covered. I'm just saying, like, I'm not a ramen person nor am I a rice person. If you are a ramyeon person or a rice person, then this is your perk for you. And if you're in a hansukjib, the ajumas or the people who tend to look after these places either give you breakfast and some of them even give you dinner. It also just depends on the one that you may want to live in. They might be more expensive than other Goshi ones, but also in Goshi ones you don't have a kitchen, so bear in mind you are going to be eating out. So if you end up paying more a month to have breakfast and dinner, it cuts the cost in other places such as food. Now onto the disadvantages. Like I said, these places are small. You could be lying on your bed, which is under your desk, and then you might just accidentally turn and hit your shower. That's how close things are in these rooms. I've put a few pictures on the screen just so you guys can actually visually see what I'm talking about. These rooms are really small. And in some of them, there are no lifts. So bear in mind, you're going to be lugging up suitcases up these stairs, and some of them have 6 floors. So if you're coming with suitcases, you are going to be carrying those suitcases up 6 floors. And that is a lot. Also, some of them do have strict rules, i.e. someone's not allowed to stay overnight. There are curfews. I know that specifically for hansukjib, most of them do have curfews. So once again, if you are looking to stay in a Goshiwon or hansukjib, just make sure you are informed about these rules so that you're not breaking them, so that you're not getting kicked out by the people in charge. Some of them do require deposits, and also with amenities they charge you separately. I think amenities cost maybe 40 to 60,000 won, which in Great British pounds I think is 35 to 40 pounds. Once again, you just need to make sure that you're looking out for those things if you are looking to study abroad in South Korea. Number 3, share houses. Now this is the housing option I would definitely recommend. I love share houses. I actually stayed in a share house in my 2nd semester and I loved it. Firstly, there are so many of them just plastered across the cities, and they have so many different kinds. If you just type in share houses in Korea on Google, they'll come up with a variety of different, let's say like hotel.coms, where you just type in a location or a university that you're looking to study in, and they'll just highlight all the different share houses within that area. One pro is that share houses tend to be fully furnished. So the share house that I went to, which is Bottom House, I don't know if she still runs her share houses anymore. It came with pillows, it came with blankets, it came with duvets, everything. So I didn't actually have to go out and buy those myself. It came with pots and pans, plates, cutleries. It came with a coffee machine, it came with a lounge area, it came with a rooftop with yoga mats and a barbecue set so you can do barbecue upstairs. It also came with a washing machine, a dryer, drying racks, everything. So I didn't actually have to go out of my way and purchase a lot of things when I was living in a share house. Also, a share house is so that you get to know your housemates more. They tend to schedule weekly events. I know for me, we had dinners, we had like challenges, which I won. I won a gift voucher for Olive Young. Never got to redeem it, and I think I could still use it because there was no expiration date on it, but I won a coupon. Also, another pro that I really liked about staying in share houses is that it allowed me to brush up on my Korean. So a lot of the people who lived in the share house that I lived in were Korean, and they did not speak a lick of English. And I feel like in that 2nd semester I ended up speaking more Korean than I had done in my 1st semester when I was just surrounded by international students who were all speaking English. Now the downside, they are a bit expensive. I'm not gonna lie, they are quite expensive in comparison to university accommodation and Goshi ones. And this is mainly in respect to the deposits that they ask you to pay. I lucked out with mine. I ended up getting rent which was relatively cheap, and ended up paying a deposit which was relatively cheaper than other deposits which I had seen for some of the share houses out there. So I had to pay, I think, 1,100,000 won as a deposit, which I think was roughly 600 to 700 pounds, and that's how much I paid as a deposit for the months that I was staying there, which from the sounds of it, it does sound pretty pricey. Like 1,000,000 won, when you hear it, it's expensive. But when I compared it to how much I would pay as a deposit for university in the UK, most of the time the deposit you pay is like 500 pounds. It hit, but it was not dire, if that makes sense. And like most of the housing options in Korea, they have rules. So none of my friends were allowed to stay over for the night. They were allowed to come into the apartment, and they were allowed to come into like the shared lounge area and rooftop area. It's just they could not stay over for the night. And most of the share houses that I know of anyway, and that I saw, were kind of with gender, if that makes sense. And so then you might have female only share houses or male only share houses, or if you had like a gender mixed share house, it would be that men were on one floor and then females were on the other floor. So for me, I was in a female only share house, so men weren't allowed in the share house at all. And that was very frustrating for me, because there was a time when I actually had to be in hospital in Korea, and the only person I knew in Korea at the time, like really knew, was my friend who had come to Korea with me from university. And obviously he was a male. There were cameras outside our share house, and I had to basically just let him in to try and help me get to a hospital because I was in so much pain. But then I kind of got told off that a man came into the room. I'm just like, no, that wasn't the case. I actually had to go to the hospital. Anyway, it was all sorted out, but just be mindful that some of them do have rules. Also with share houses, the contracts tend to be longer than a semester. So normally a semester in Korea is 4 months. The contracts with share houses is 6 months. Because I intended to stay in Korea longer, I didn't mind too much. But then if you are looking to stay for a short period of time, just note that they might charge you more in the deposit that you pay or more in the monthly rent that you pay them. Also, amenities you pay separately. So the bills that you pay, so gas, water, electric, all of that, you pay separately. So for me, we paid 60 to 80,000 won a month, and if we ended up not spending or using that amount in the month, when I ended up leaving and get my deposit back, she just refunded me that amount of money. Anyway, for me, I love share houses and this is the best option. And if you want a more, once again, a detailed video how to look for share houses in Korea, let me know and I will make another video just explaining and detailing how you can search for share houses and what you need or how you can negotiate your contracts when you're talking with them. Sorry guys, I'm back. My camera died and so I had to quickly go charge it. But I was basically moving on to number 4 of the housing options, which is Officetels and apartments. There are always a few Officetels and apartments located around universities in South Korea, and they are great for students who kind of want their privacy and just to have a bit more freedom. There are basically no rules. They are situated in the most popular areas throughout the country. I know in Seoul there were so many located in and around the Sinchon area and Hongdae as well. Some of them come fully furnished, some of them come bills included. It really just depends on the type that you actually sign a contract for or the one that you want to rent. One site I can recommend you use to look for Officetels and apartments is Jipbang, I think that's how you pronounce it, and it basically just lists out all the different Officetels and apartments in and around the areas that you're looking for. Downside about using this website is that it is fully in Korean, so you're gonna have to be using translator most of the time. Downside, apartments and Officetels are expensive, like unbelievably expensive. And that is mainly because of the deposits that they want you to put down prior to moving in. The deposits can range between 5 million won, which is like $5,000, to 10 million won, which is like $10,000. This is just the deposit to get the key. This isn't even the rent. This is just to get a key, which is a lot for a deposit, especially for a student or an international student. However, the more you pay for the key deposit, the less your rent will be per month. And like a deposit, you will get that money back, but it is a lot to ask the student to fork out 5 to 10 million won for a key and then to also pay rent on top of that. Also, while some of these places do come fully furnished, some aren't. So if you happen to get an apartment or office style which isn't fully furnished, you have to buy your own bed, you have to buy your own duvets, blankets, pillows, all of that. So just be mindful, if it's not fully furnished, you will have to buy all those things for yourself, on top of the rent you have to pay and on top of the deposit that you have to fork out as well. Then again, like if I could afford an office tower and apartment, I hands down go for it. So if it is something that is within your price range, hands down easy, go for that. And last but not least, Airbnbs. So I'm just going to put this out here now. I do not recommend Airbnbs unless it is a last resort. A positive is that Airbnb is easy for you to navigate that website. Downside, because there aren't many pros, is that pictures can be deceiving with Airbnbs. What they post on Airbnb, it might not actually be what you are getting. And a lot of time when you're trying to like rent out a lump sum amount, they want you to pay that up front. And sometimes they don't want to give you your money back if you end up being like, hey, this is what the pictures are saying, give me my money back. They might just be like, no, I'm not giving you your money back. So just be mindful that pictures are very deceiving with Airbnbs. And while they do tend to offer discounts when you do have lengthy stays, the cleaning fee, the security deposit and all of that just end up racking up the bills so much that I just don't think it's worth actually staying there for the time or the duration that you're in South Korea for studying. It just doesn't make sense. If it is a situation where you just obviously need the place because you haven't got anywhere and obviously your course is starting, I get Airbnb can be a nice last minute resort, not for the entire duration. I would say to rent out a couple of weeks or so for you to then be looking for accommodation on the ground whilst you're in Korea, so that you can ultimately move into that accommodation later on down the line. So there you have it. Those are the 5 main housing options or accommodation types that you can get as an international student looking to study abroad in South Korea. But please like this video if you found this video helpful. Please comment down below if you have any questions. Share this video with anybody you think might find this useful, and obviously subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.